SLS GmbH is not a workshop. The work shown, which we carry out on our own vehicles, are merely experience reports and may contain errors. They are therefore not to be understood as professional instructions. Unfortunately, we cannot accept orders.
I'm Niels from SLS, and today we're looking at the instrument cluster lighting in the 107 series. Contrary to what we previously thought, no LEDs were installed in the 107 series up to the final model year. Only incandescent bulbs were used. And the differences between model years are significant. Our notes show what we discovered after our initial brainstorming, though there are surely more equipment variants we haven't covered. But first, let's look at the bulbs, since 4 different types of bulbs could be behind a failure. Here's first the assignment from the driver's perspective. As examples, we'll show a 1973 cockpit, a 1979 model, and a 1986 model. When I later refer to left or right, I'm always speaking in the direction of travel. This is important to know when looking at the cockpits from behind. From 1985 onwards, there was a division on the left and right for up to 6 warning symbols. Before the facelift, there were maximum 4 per side, correspondingly larger. The symbols are embossed in the light discs, with the color film being separate. Back to 1973, 4 large socket spaces below. Later that same year, a metal circuit board was added on the right for the new tachometer design, and one of the large round pole connectors was eliminated. With the 1985 facelift, alongside the tighter 6-way division, all models received a central 7-pole insert with 4 completely new controls. Four black plastic base bulbs, 1.2 watts, part number 999096, left side in the later instrument. Also left, behind the brown bayonet sockets for charging and fuel reserve. 3-watt glass base part number 299096. The rest is handled by up to 8 1.2-watt glass base bulbs, 299097. Before 1985, all lower positions for 3-watt part number 299096. Also in the large white sockets, special solutions might be installed in the center. For all years, the actual dial illumination comes from just 2 long sockets, each with only 1.2-watt glass base bulbs, 299097, solely from up here. Almost full house in the 560 SL. The circuitry was also gradually modernized so that with ignition on, control functions including fluid warnings would light up. Therefore, model year and equipment determined the bulb set. Looking at the socket locking mechanism, the same early modernization date with the tachometer metal baseplate on the passenger side also brought the transition from bayonet to plug-in sockets. With bulbs still unchanged, dead-end cables have since connected the dimmer to the dial illumination. From the 1985 facelift onwards, the central insert for 4 additional lights became accessible, but they are soldered in. In older instruments, this space was used in sedans for gear indicators of the steering wheel automatic or controls for special equipment. Or, as in our case, simply a styrofoam block.
This shows that in such a mid-generation model, which is already more fully equipped but still has space for the large 3-watt bulbs, we can have 20 to 30 watts of light output in the worst case. That's already a significant heat source.
And also an electrical load on the thin circuit board traces. More on that later. Here again are the socket types with their matching bulbs. Small white plug-in socket post 1985. Right side, 1.2 watts. Glass base bulb. Part number 299097. Large white plug-in socket pre-1985. Right side, 3 watts. Glass base bulb, part number 299096. Black plastic base bulbs, 1.2 watts. With fixed bayonet base, part number 999096. Solder-in bulbs for middle insert, for example part number 799695. Long socket bayonet 1.2 watts, part number 299097.
We've shown which bulbs you should have ready when a specific light fails. Now we'll move on to the disassembly.
Because this is what it can look like. Our 500 SL with a potpourri of failures and ground faults. We need to address this. When I turn on the lights now, this one up here stops working. Fortunately, no airbag. Still, disconnect the battery and use the familiar hook technique. Rarely dismounted instruments can be stuck here and require force. There are no screws, but working around it with a plastic spatula can help. The sockets under the tachometer have been numbered since 1973, starting from the passenger side, and correspondingly, the supply lines carry number tags.
But today we're going one step further and taking apart the latest dashboard, the 1986 model. Then we can see a bit more clearly where the instrument dial illuminations actually lead. Now with the circuit boards removed, we can see quite well where the bulbs actually have their effect. Here we have this long socket with the 1.2 watt dial illumination that extends up to this plexiglass and then hides behind this black cover. You can imagine that cleaning would be very effective here.
So for our year 1986 500 SL, the failed trip odometer becomes another agenda item.
There's damage to the gear here. So I see two risks with this gear operation. One risk is that you naturally want to remove the dial face for this action. This requires removing the needle. And I simply don't trust myself to reattach the needle, both without causing damage and in the correct position.
If there were also a standstill in the speedometer needle, then fault isolation could be quickly done through this plug coupling. If no signal comes from the transmission, then there's no voltage fluctuation between pin 1 and pin 2.
This little experiment with the speedometer has shown us that we have transmission signals on pins 1 and 2. You could also check this by measuring with an analog multimeter and seeing the wave voltage on the needle. 1 and 2. Those are white and brown here, I believe. Then we have a speedometer output signal here, for example, for cruise control, but also for engine management. Then we have the 8-pole connector here, of which only 7 are occupied. For the lower display, fluid levels, windshield washer, and cooling, as well as lamp control unit. Then we have the tachometer here, which arrives with green as the signal, otherwise blue and black as ignition positive. Then we have constant positive here, caution danger for the clock, always powered. This is pinout number 5 for us. So on the right side, number 5. This was ABS in this case. Needs both wires itself, doesn't get ground through the cockpit base plate. And then comes another puzzle. What's this?
Wir haben gesehen, das Steckte auf dem Steckplatz der Abgastemperatur leuchtet.
We saw it was plugged into the exhaust temperature light sockets. So socket 4 was dead, no bulb in it.
Keine Birne drin. Und
we had already replaced the exhaust on this car earlier. And we noticed something strange.
Dies ist ja ein Rüfwagen ohne Cat.
This is a RUF vehicle without catalytic converter, yet there was a sensor screwed into the center muffler. That must have been the exhaust temperature monitoring. Must have been here with green yellow wire. I'll follow up on this, whether we can still find the control unit and the wiring harness for it. Otherwise, we can show something else about our RUF without cat in the right footwell. The experiment with the speedometer has shown that we'll send it in. And we'll just clean the rest of the cockpit, then reinstall it and take care of the ground fault ourselves. Let's see if we can get the lighting under control this way.
So-called RUF vehicles were prepared for a lambda control circuit without it being utilized. Here's the unused green probe connection.
After disassembly and before reassembly, it naturally makes sense to clean things thoroughly. I have some soapy water here and some water with rinse aid there, and we'll set it aside to dry. We'll use that time later. Actually, the most important point is to see whether we have dirt or scratches here or both. Dirt we can certainly remove. Scratches can also be removed by professionals. You can achieve this with polish. I don't dare to try that. I'll start with the cleaning first. That's it. I hope we've been able to show which bulb operates which instrument lighting, and we've shown a few other tricks as well. We'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.